My biggest mistake was existing in this world. I chose to leave because I no longer had a purpose to live, and also because no one needed me anymore. I will leave my useless life to the people I love, even if they don't exist in the same world as me. Pale pink lips moved slightly. The thick mist brought by the wind obscured the figure of the person who had just spoken. When the fog cleared, that person had gone a very long way. Hiroshi quickly chased after the girl in his dream, hugging that small body. Cold hands grabbed the fox's hand, gently removed his warm chains surrounding her, but still trying to hold on for a while longer. A little warmth from a short kiss could not ease the pain of separation rising in his heart. Hiroshi held that mysterious girl, but his hands could only hold cold mist. And the fire burned the image before his eyes to ashes. Hiroshi woke up and put his head on the files on the table. It's that nightmare again. It's just a dream, but it brings tears to the fox's eyes in reality. The only thing he remembers is the pain of separation, the feeling of someone who can only watch the person he loves gradually leave without being able to do anything. Are you unwell? Or did I come at the wrong time? Mrs. Yukio's gentle, caring question soothed the painful echoes of the nightmare. Hiroshi raised his head, tried to smile as naturally as possible and replied, I was just having dreams. Don't worry about me. What makes you cry in your dreams is the thing you cherish and regret the most. If it's a person, it's definitely the person you love the most. Mrs. Yukio explained and placed the lunchbox on her son's desk. No matter what the reason is, don't neglect yourself and forget those who love you in the present. Hiroshi happily nodded and began to enjoy his lunch. Outside the door, a group of female employees bowed to Mrs. Yukio and then lurked, peeking at her son. No one knew that scene had been seen by Mrs. Yukio. The fox demon's mother smiled kindly when she learned that her son was a lady killer like her departed husband. That scene was reflected in the well near the flying castle, and made Dango feel uncomfortable. It's good to forget everything. This will make it easier to start a new life. Konami's cold tone froze the hard-to-name emotions in Dango's heart. The fire demon glanced at the demon who liked to say things contrary to her thoughts, questioned with a mischievous smile, so why are you helping me restore my memories? It's fine for you to live with an empty head. Your hatred or gratitude isn't related to me. I just want to use those sealed memories as something to play in my free time. Irremissible. Dango quickly left the flying castle, ignoring Konami's regretful eyes. Having been together for 8 years, Konami clearly understood who those empty words were aimed at. In the past, Dango tried his best to prevent Hiroshi from loving Kaoru because he had already guessed the painful ending between them. The fire demon hated Kaoru because the rat demon caused his closest comrade to change. But when he realized that Kaoru came to this world to save the group of former detectives, the fire demon could not forgive his extreme selfish nature. He returned to the human world to find a way to correct his mistakes, even though he knew what he was about to do was meaningless. Wouldn't it be better to just let her go like that? Making them meet won't save anything. The demon with horns on his forehead honestly admitted. You heartless guy. Why scold me? The horned monster grabbed the shoulder of the monster standing next to him, shook him violently and screamed in agony. I have always been loyal to Lord Konami for a long time, and have never betrayed her. Suddenly accusing me like that, what are your plans? The person whose shoulders were shaken until he couldn't breathe pointed at the well and weakly explained. The well says. I didn't. The horned monster hesitantly let go of his friend and looked into the well. His face turned pale when he saw Higa staggered due to the punch of a drunk woman. The former detective of the dead world fell on the cupboard, causing the porcelain behind the half-closed door to crash and break. Higa stood in the middle of the battlefield he had unintentionally caused, calmly wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and silently waited for the coming wrath. Ms. Onko stepped on the broken porcelain, grabbed her son's collar, gritted her teeth and cursed. You and your friends invited each other to drink alcohol, forcing her to travel from Niran Temple to Tokyo to ask me for bottles of alcohol. How dare you say you don't know who she is? You torture my daughter like that without knowing her. Where is my daughter now? Where did you hide her? Old hag, you only have this son. You don't have any daughters. Higa was punched again. He bowed his head. The indignant squeaking sound of his teeth grinding together softly rang out. If the person in front of him was not his mother, he would fight back immediately. Higa's stubborn and annoying attitude caused him to receive another slap. His memories about Ms. Onko's mysterious daughter came flooding back one after another along with the angry words of a drunk. Kaoru is my daughter. She saved me and took care of me during the days when you hung out with your friends. Without she, you will never see me again. Then Ms. Onko pointed towards the main door and shouted loudly, "Why are you still standing there? Hurry up. Find my child for me." "Okay, I will go. I'll find your child for you. She is your child, and I am not. You bad mother." Ms. Onko collapsed like a banana tree cut down, then smiled crookedly when she heard her son's footsteps fading towards the door. She staggered to the liquor cabinet and grabbed a bottle of wine. Her shaking shoulders caused the bottle of wine in her hand to waver. The wine spilled on her lips, face, and drenched her collar. She placed the useless thing firmly on the table, trying to hold it tightly. However, no matter how hard Ms. Onko tried, the layer of water in that glass bottle still moved like waves of intense emotions in her heart. Ms. Onko shouted angrily and threw the wine bottle into the corner of the wall. Broken wine bottle. The strong smell of alcohol permeated the living room. Ms. Onko hung her head again, cried like a child, and didn't know that Higa had soon forgotten her harsh words. After the recent rain of blows, he realized he had a more important task than meaningless anger. Two figures moving quickly across the rooftops coincidentally met each other. Dango glanced at Higa, smiling mischievously. The fire demon saw the change in his teammate's eyes. Higa held Dango's shoulder, moving and asking with a meaningful smile. "Dango, what are you doing here?" "Find the fox named Hiroshi. Follow me. I know where he is." "Is your memories back?" "That black magic thing succumbed to my mother's punch. It's a long story. I'll tell it later when I have a chance." They rushed across the buildings and stopped in front of where Hiroshi was discussing a contract with a new partner. The sudden appearance of his teammates interrupted the meaningless negotiations. The fox left Fusa behind to talk to the guests and went out to find his teammates. Just arriving at a hidden corner in the garden behind the restaurant, the demon fox was grabbed by Higa's collar, punched hard and scolded. "Now you're still thinking about meaningless money. Why didn't you tell me Kaoru came here to save us? Now she's about to die, you're still sitting here discussing the contract." Hiroshi looked at his teammates. His face showed no emotion. The demon fox raised his hand to wipe the blood that had just flowed from the place where he was beaten. The wound disappeared very quickly. The response to the extremely indignant attitude from his teammates was an indifferent calmness and the affirmation. "I don't understand what you guys want to say. Today's contract is very important. I will talk to you guys later. The person who gave up her life to save you isn't as good as that mess of papers full of words. Kaoru misunderstood you." The demon fox looked straight into Higa's eyes, coldly emphasizing each word. "I don't know anyone named Kaoru in my life." Seeing that the former team leader was about to punch that random and meaningless person again, Dango quickly stopped him. Higa suppressed his anger and went with the fire demon to the dimensional road. Behind them, Hiroshi silently watched and then quietly returned to where his partner was waiting. The contract was signed, the female partner stood up, shook hands with Fusa and Hiroshi and happily left. When it was time to leave the restaurant, the female detective from Death turned to Hiroshi and asked in a voice as light as a breeze. "You don't regret it, do you?" "Never." Hiroshi looked up at the starry night sky and hurriedly went home. He took Hyan out of his pocket, took off his vest and smiling slightly. This little demon followed him all day, but now he was sleeping soundly because he was so tired. The lovely sleeping face silently invited the fox to tease. Unconsciously, he gently touched Hyan's face and smiled when he saw the little elf holding his finger, rubbing his face on it. Some faded memories came rushing back. The old days, at a Yame restaurant. Besides Hyan, there was also Haruka. The kids often hugged each other and fell asleep, unaware that the fox and another person were teasing them. Hiroshi saw that girl's gentle smile again. A severe headache came. The fox demon was out of control. He grabbed the purple flower in the vase, crumpled it and threw it in the trash. Hyan woke up startled. He quickly stopped it when he saw his father approaching the withered souvenir. Seeing the little goblin stretch a thread-like hemp rope to threaten him, Hiroshi was both amused and sympathetic. He picked up the small boy like a doll and gently reassured him. Okay, I won't bully that flower anymore. Don't be angry with me. Hyan jumped out of his father's arms, brought the flower along with its tattered petals and placed it on the table. He looked up at his father and pointed to the destroyed souvenir. It moved aside and carefully observed the hand filled with magic that was healing the faded flower. The wounds on the petals slowly fade. The emerald eyes slowly closed. A headache suddenly came. Unconsciously, the fox held the flower tightly. Hyan cried out and struggled with all his strength before the withered souvenir was ruined again. Hyan and the purple flower were thrown into the trash. Hiroshi held his head, trying not to watch the scene of Hyan trying to pull Kaoru's memento out of the scraps of paper. The more he avoided, the more intense the pain became. For a moment, the demon fox's mind became as blank as Kaoru's emotions in her last moments of life. No matter how many people came to see her off, she still felt lonely. The rat demon stood in front of the magic net without bothering to turn around. She knew that if she saw them, she wouldn't be able to leave. The more entanglements there were, the more painful death became. He didn't really come. Yet people praise the fox as a faithful animal. Akiko softly reprimanded. She doesn't have much longer to live. Coming just once. Is it that hard to say goodbye with a hug? No one understands what that old fox is thinking. But he certainly has his own reasons for doing so. Dango defended. I have to go. Kaoru spoke up. Don't make me miss this place too much. If anyone meets him, tell him not to miss someone like me. There's no use missing me. Forget it to be at ease. Heartless. Hiroshi's reproach made the rat stop walking. But when she realized that there was not a single sound behind her to indicate that the fox had just arrived, Kaoru laughed at herself. Because she miss him so much, she create illusions to deceive herself. In the end, only the rat tormented herself with her unfinished love. Behind Kaoru, the fire burned bright red, forming a wall as high as an adult's shoulders. Behind the firewall, Dango, Higa, Tateyama, Hina, Akiko and Lord Pluto all looked at that lonely figure with sorrowful eyes. They understood that on the surface, the rat demon said there was no need for anyone to see her off, but in Kaoru's heart, she longed to hear Hiroshi's voice one more time. That is also the reason why she lingers at the intersection of her homeland and the world that is not for her. The deeper the contradiction in her heart, the bigger the fire surrounding her burned. In the blink of an eye, the only thing left was her head and blue hair. The sound of footsteps stepping on the gravel road attracted everyone's attention. Hiroshi has arrived. The demon fox stood a short distance from his teammate's position, looked towards where the fire was burning. Everyone there, except Dango, was happy to see the fox came closer to Kaoru. You really don't need me. Whether I need it or not, this place has no place for me. Kaoru forced a smile, looking up at the deep night sky above her head. Why are you coming here? I'm here to pick you up. Let's go home together. Kaoru bowed her head, watched as the tears that had just fallen disappeared, and said softly, I have nowhere else to go. There is still a world behind you. As long as you come back, that place will be your home. I will not forgive you in my entire life. I left my homeland and my life to save you, and you used poison to kill me. I sealed your memories with my life, and you destroy it at all costs. From beginning to end, you just wanted me to die, wanted me to leave this place as quickly as possible. You thought I would believe you, believe in what you said. I have no life left now. I gave you my immortal blood, so there's nothing left for you to take advantage. Let me leave this place. Don't look for me anymore. I just want to leave peacefully. The magic net opened again. Winds came from somewhere else, pushing fire and heat toward the survivors. Kaoru slowly walked forward. After all this time of waiting, the last bit of strength was gone. The demon rat's body gradually dissolved into sparkling strips of light dust, flying into the night sky. Hiroshi quickly chased after her but was stopped by the Dead World investigators. High-level monsters like him were only allowed to travel between the human world and the demon world, and were absolutely not allowed to step into another world even one step. He called Kaoru's name, but the sound was blocked by invisible magic, and the impressions of the name he wanted to call were erased. Hiroshi hurriedly stepped forward. The wind pushed the flames surrounding Kaoru towards him. The scorching heat woke up Hyan, who was sleeping soundly from the sedative herbs. The fire awakened the pain of separation and then broke into a scream. Hearing her child calling her, Kaoru quickly turned her head. The red flame flared up fiercely and obscured the last image of the rat demon. When the fire dissipated, the place where Kaoru was standing was just an empty land. There was no trace that Kaoru had ever been there. Hiroshi collapsed on his knees in a daze. Hina covered her face and burst into tears. Hyan jumped out of his father's coat pocket, ran to where his mother used to stand, frantically searched but found nothing. He quickly returned to his father, pulled his father's hair, forcing him to find his mother. Hiroshi was still kneeling there, as silent as a statue. It's a bit early to despair, Dango reminded. All attention turned to the fire demon and burst into joy at the reunion. He stood next to a rotten tree trunk, brushing fire ashes from his clothes. The bit of human world fire didn't do too much damage to his black outfit. And so was the rat demon. Dango gave way to Hiroshi and turned away, pretended not to notice them. Hiroshi happily hugged Kaoru and then was stunned when he realized he couldn't touch the rat demon like before. The rat demon gently shook her head, begged the fox demon not to use his emotions to hold her. She had never imagined Hiroshi's face when he shed tears. And when she saw the fox cry, her pain was enduring became even greater. You're so unlike the Hiroshi I used to know. You should be happy, because when I die here, at this moment, I won't return to that place. No one will hurt me, laugh at me or despise me. I don't have to force myself into the rules created by society there anymore. Kaoru smiled, reached out to Hiroshi. From the tunnel connecting the worlds, a wind rushed in, surrounding Kaoru. The unscheduled fire flared up again and burned her last imagination. When the fire died down, the place where Kaoru was sitting remained intact as if nothing had ever happened. Only the rat demon disappeared forever, leaving no trace that she had ever existed.